We have learned at Restoration Games it's good policy not to say the name out loud. Sometimes it's just a simple rash. Sometimes it's a sleepless night. Sometimes furniture moves on its own. But whatever it is, we've just found it's best to just skip that part. So we actually call the game Fireball Island, The Curse of...
Hey, Future JT here. Just a warning. Do not say his name. Weird things have been happening. My head gets shrunk on this video. Weird static and things and noises and stuff keep coming up. And it's like I always said, when one door closes and another one opens, it's time to pack up and move because your house is clearly haunted. Let's get back to the interview.
All right.
Stop.
Collaborate.
And listen.
Welcome to G Club's Stop, Collaborate, and Listen, a show designed to get to know the board game community. This is where the board game's movers and shakers stop what they're doing, collaborate on topics, and where we get to listen and learn from designers, publishers, media creators, and you, the gamers. I'm your humble host, JT, and I've got Rob Daviau from Restoration Games on the show with us today to talk about their upcoming Kickstarter, Fireball Island, The Curse of Val Kilmer.
I see you already know how to treat a certain someone on the island with great respect.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I don't have anybody visiting in my dreams.
Yes.
So
I suppose we should explain this at some point.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So Rob, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What is your role within the company? And I'd really like for you to really spell out what you mean by the CRO. I think that's a really clever title. And what dessert best describes you?
So I'm Rob Daviau. I've been a game designer for 20 years. Started in 1998. I was with Hasbro for 14 of those years. I've been on my own for about 6. I've done a lot of original designs. I've also worked on a lot of games while at Hasbro that I did Risk games and Clue games and Monopoly games and Star Wars games and Harry Potter and Marvel and a whole bunch of things, mostly in the last decade. Out on my own, I still make my own original games. But a couple years ago, I joined up and sort of co-founded a company called Restoration Games. And our mission is to find these sort of lost treasures of games. And they can go back, way back, but at least 15 years. And we look at some stuff like turn of the last century. And our job is to restore them and bring it back. So it's not a reprint. It's not nostalgia. We're not taking like 1950s graphics and just putting them on there. We're not taking the $6 million man game and doing like some sort of ironic tie-in. Like we look at a game and say, this was really cool in its day. How can we make it cool today? And sometimes it just takes a little bit of a change, and sometimes it takes a medium or a large change. My job as the Chief Restoration Officer is kind of the Chief Creative. So I shape the line, help decide. And there's 6 of us, and we all do a lot of stuff. But my job is game design, game development, what games we have, what games we're working on, rules writing, basically everything about the game itself. I don't eat much dessert. I've been a type 1 diabetic for 30 years, but that's not the question. The question is, what kind of dessert would I be? I think I might be tiramisu because I have a lot of layers. I can be a little bitter sometimes because of the coffee, but ultimately sweet and soaked in wine.
And so they're called the Wind-Up and the Pitch. And the Wind-Up is where we get to learn a little bit more about Fireball Island, The Curse of Valhalla.
Fireball Island was a game from 1986 by Milton Bradley. And it's a big game. It's like 18 inches by 24 inches. And it's this big plastic island, very Indiana Jones, of its time from the 80s. And players moved pawns around. It was a little chase thing. You'd move down a path. You tried to be the first person to steal a gem from this idol that was in the middle. And then the first person to get the gem to the boat won. And along the way, people could steal it. And the best part was, as this was happening, the idol at the top of the hill and then in various other places would shoot fireballs at you, which were marbles. So marbles would roll down and knock your character over. So immediately we knew we were in a good place. The game now is being redone. And we had a lot of interesting challenges. How do we make the game bigger but in a smaller box and make it as good as people remember? So the game where we landed is it plays 2 to 4 players, but one of the expansions you can buy brings it up to 5 players, so 2 to 5. It takes about 45 minutes. It is very family light. On your turn, you're just going to have 2 action cards. You play one of them and do what it says. It's like move 6 and then launch a marble. Or move 10, but you can't pick up any treasure. You're just booking it. And then you pick up another card at the end of your turn, and you'll have 2. What we've done is we've moved away from a path game to sort of a winding jungle trail game. The island's still there. It is now owned by the worst sort of entertainment resort company you could possibly imagine. They've reopened it as an adventure resort. It's the grand reopening. They've fixed all the problems. Corporate has assured us they've fixed all the problems on the island that were giving issue, and it's 100% mostly likely safe for a while. So you are not an adventurer here. You are a person who got dropped down expecting a day of sort of like rugged hiking and zip lining, and now you find you are running for your life. And corporate being corporate, they're not coming back with the helicopter until one person comes back with 3 pictures from the island to feed the corporate website. Because honestly, they're too smart to go to the island themselves. So you're sort of racing to get these pictures. One has to be from each side of the island in the middle, and then pick up treasures along the way. And whoever picks up the most treasures and postcards, pictures are worth something, wins the game. It's about 40 minutes. Along the way, there'll be marbles. We call them, there's fireballs. And then there's ember spheres, which are sort of like fireballs, but orange instead of red. Depending on the expansions you can get, there are snakes, there are angry bees, a leaping tiger, a crashed pirate ship, secret caves, and basically this can play down to 6 or 7 years old. There's minimal reading, and it's the type of thing a parent could help a kid and be like, which card should I play? There's a couple twists and stuff, souvenir cards, and a little bit of scoring at the end. But no, it's basically play a card, hit a marble, and hope you knock down someone else's pawn, because then you get one of their treasures, and you feel good. But the person who gets knocked down doesn't feel horrible, because they get to draw a special souvenir card, which lets them do break the rules stuff later. So yes, I lost a treasure, but later on I can do something like not stop when I enter a cave. So I enter a cave, roll the die, and then run out the other side and steal something from you. So you get these little revenge moments if you've been knocked down.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Talk a little bit about this Curse of Valerie Bertinelli, though.
The original idol has a name, VUL-KAR. We have learned at Restoration Games it's good policy not to say the name out loud. Sometimes it's just a simple rash. Sometimes it's a sleepless night. Sometimes furniture moves on its own. But whatever it is, we've just found it's best to just skip that part. So we actually call the game Fireball Island, the Curse of that guy.
Okay.
That guy.
Yeah.
He's a plastic head that lives in the middle of the island, and he's pretty cool because you drop a marble in the top of it, and it comes out the mouth. Or at least that's what he did in 1986. But he's sort of gotten madderer as the time, more angrier as the time went on. And so now when you drop a marble in his head, it comes out one of 3 different places. So even when it's your turn and you want to hit someone with a marble, that's one of the things we did is we put a twist on it. You don't know. There's predictability, but not certainty to the marbles.
Okay.
So if I'm trying to hit you, I might be like, okay, idol, let's do this. And I drop it down. And if it comes out the front and goes down and hits that tree in the way that I think, because the trees rotate and their roots provide like bumpers and diversions in the paths, then it all should be fine. But all of a sudden it goes down the left, which I didn't quite see coming, and then hits that marble. Oh, and I didn't notice that tree root was like that. And then it hits me. And then everyone laughs.
Yes.
Yeah. Self-marbling is a real thing in this game. It's funny for everyone but the person who self-marbled. And hopefully it's kind of funny for them. I was playtesting the other day, solo playing. So I'm walking around a table playing all 4 parts. And I self-marbled with one character and then actually laughed in glee like I was 7. To where the point where my wife came out and was like, you're out here by yourself? I'm like, I knocked myself over with a marble. It's like, okay.
I thought you lost your marbles at that point too.
Ooh. Oh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Dad jokes.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's get into the pitch. So
yeah.
You talked a little bit about who this game's for. You got a kind of an age range. But why should I back this game?
This game is a spectacle. we put a lot of time into it. The game is, and I should just have it about 2 feet by 18 inches by 5 inches to the base of Voldemort, and then like another 3 inches on top. So this thing is huge. It's just something that it was our most requested game. People have a lot of nostalgia for it. And the good and bad thing about our company is that people have very fond memories and very naturally nostalgic childhood memories. If you ask people how big this was, they're like, it was like a surfboard, maybe a ping pong table. And I think I crawled in it at one point. So we had to really make it big, because when we made something about the size of the original, people were like, no, the original one was big. You shrunk it. And so we made it bigger. We made the marbles faster. We added more unpredictability. One thing in the original game is when you hit a marble and it rolled down a path, it went pretty much exactly where you thought it would go. There were a few exceptions. Sometimes it would knock you out of the way rather than knock you over. Mm-hmm. We're like, there's so much potential when you hit that marble to see where it goes. At like one side of the island is like a pachinko machine. One side just has like this trough, but we made it with low walls, so it'll occasionally jump the wall and go in a different trough. A marble can come down and hit a ladder right before it spills onto this thing, and once that physics happens and the ladder goes and it goes, like, it's pretty much a pure randomizer. So we wanted that roulette wheel moment of, or watching like downhill skiing, where you're, what's going to happen? How are they going to make this turn? Like, where is it going to land? And again, a lot of times it just does what you expected, but I've seen some funny combinations. I was standing in front of the mouth of that guy, where my character pawn was. Someone tried to hit me 5 times the marble. It went left, it went right, it went straight, but went the wrong way. Another one came out, went straight, but sort of knocked me to the side. And then finally I got taken out good and proper. But the rules are going to be kind of laid out, we think, like a map you would get, when you go to a park, with all the one that you had in your pocket all day. Yeah, the eightfold, and you had in your pocket, and it's all sweaty, so like the lines in the middle are sort of creased, and there's a lot of waivers and don't worries and everything about it being safe. So we want people to have fun. The kids will just enjoy, being on an island, and the adults will get sort of the little bit of satirical humor about taking the kids, when you go to an amusement park or something, or a theme restaurant, you get there and go, oh, this is not that good. Sort of to its extreme. It's 45 minutes. We've got the base game, and pretty much everything I'm talking about just comes in the base game. And then we had too many ideas, so we came up with 3 expansions. And so if you want a little more adventure, you buy the expansion, which is The Last Adventurer. And this is the guy who's been living in the jungle since the 80s, and he basically comes out, he's like, I can show you how to survive here. And then all your players go from being tourists, you get a power, so you're really awesome now. But he comes a little bit at a price, because he also has a foam boulder and that rolls down one side that's like much bigger than a marble, and on the other side, up to 8 snakes can sun on the rocks, and when a marble comes down and runs along this gully, it hits all the snakes like, brrr, and then they all spill out and roll down. There's a whole separate island, which is smaller. It's like a reef, the wreck of the Crimson Cutlass, where a pirate ship crashed. And there are caves on the island, so when you go into a cave, you can roll a die and come out any other cave, or not any other cave, but the same number. And so the pirate island has caves as well, so you come out there and it's got special treasure that's kind of magical, that gives you special powers. But there's also a mast with a crow's nest, and along the way, marbles will be put in, cannonballs, and eventually it will fall over and crash onto the deck, and 3 to 5 marbles will spill out, and you can use the cannons to try to deflect things. And it was just a joy to make this. I mean, I worked at Hasbro, which does a lot of toys, and so I had to kind of go back to just be a kid again and just be like, what would be cool? Like, the front of the Crimson Cutlass has the bowsprit, the thing that sticks off the front with a skull. Here, I got an early prototype of it. So you got this skull, and you tap on the skull, and it has a marble in its mouth that it shoots and arcs in the air. And if you do it just right, it hits the guy who's sitting at the captain's wheel, and it knocks it, and it goes flying up in the air. And the last expansion, just the little $15 one, is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Bees. Do you ever play Ants in the Pants?
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. It's this little plastic ant. It almost looks like a paper, like a clip or something, like a binder clip. And you push down on the back of the ant, and the legs splay out. And then when you let it go, it snaps back, and you want it to arc it up into literally a pair of pants. It's been around for like 50 years. So we just took that same idea, but we didn't make it an ant. We made it a tiger. And there are certain places in the island you can hide from the marbles, but if I've got the tiger and I get the right shot, you can't ever hide from the tiger. So if you buy that expansion, I can make a tiger jump up and just grab someone and maul them, I guess, and do tigery things.
Do tigery things. I like that. It's very technical.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get all inside baseball and get into game design, but tigery things kind of covers it.
Now let's get into the swing. This is an opportunity for you to protect the plate and hit a few back in our direction by getting to know more about you, the game, and some wisdom that perhaps you could share with the audience.
That's fine. Can I sack bunt to move the runner over, or do I? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you can sack bunt. Just make sure you do the appropriate.
That's fine. No, I'm not bunting on my own. That was called in from the coach.
From the coach. Yeah.
So I get my baseball schedule right up there, and I'm counting down days till first pitch. So I'm from New England. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. We all had lovable losers growing up, and then we've had great sports success the past 15 years, but I have not recalibrated to realize that everyone is tired of us winning. So I still think of us as the plucky underdogs who can do, and I was like, no, that's not true anymore.
Let's get into the fan mail here. So I had a few questions that came up for you. People were excited about their burning questions. See, I've already done it again. For Fireball Island. How are you handling movement and triggering fireballs and stuff? It sounded like it was card-based.
Yeah. Well, let me explain how it used to be. It was a roll and move game, because that's what you did in the 80s. It worked well. You got a regular 6-sided die. If you got a 2 through 6, you moved that number of spaces. So you didn't control your movement. And if you got a 1, you launched a fireball. And there were a number that you could pick from, including from Key on top of the mountain. So you didn't control when and where you moved, or when the fireballs happened. But the fireballs were oddly deterministic. So we sort of reversed that right away. We said we need to give you more control over how you move and when the fireballs launch, but then less control after that, because that seemed like a fun switch. So yeah, there are 5 or 6 different card types in the base action cards that say move from as little as 1 to 3, like a little random die roll, to as much as 10 to 12. We haven't quite worked out the final numbers there as we're playing. And then do an action. And so you have a hand of 2, so you might have 2 of the exact same card, but usually you have 2 different ones. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the action. The action is, if you ever roll a marble and don't knock someone over, so you're kind of deflated, you always get to rotate 1 or 2 things on the island, and there's trees that have roots that you can try to make the paths better, or you can take the big giant angry idol that we don't name at the top and rotate him so he's not facing you. Because, and there's another thing that's in the game. Sometimes when you go to refill your hand at the end, you get something called a cataclysm. An old Voltron up there on the hill, he takes a turn basically and just spits out from 1 to 4 marbles. You don't turn him, you don't do anything, he just goes off. So, so you always want him to be facing away from you where possible. And then after you get 4 cataclysms, you reshuffle the deck and you put another marble in the rage trough. And that's the number of marbles that he shoots out. So as the game goes on, it goes 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So it just gets faster and faster, or more frenetic.
This comes from Christopher Walker. He says, what was the reason behind moving away from the iconic bridges and waterfalls from the original?
Good question. There are 2 bridges, and our art director is currently doing all the art for the island. And I don't know if he's putting a waterfall on or not. I know we have some lava flows or some scorched earth on there. But the bridges are definitely there. We tried to keep iconic things where possible. There is a gem in the game called the Heart of You-Know-Who that is worth a lot of points at the end, and it's the only thing that you can steal when you run by people, right? Once I get a treasure, you get it only by knocking me over. Mm-hmm. But that heart, that gem, you can just like a football, just keep running and grabbing it and keep going, which mimics the original game. So it's worth a lot of points, but you become a real target in many ways while you have it. So you have to decide, do you want to get it early? Do you want to steal it late? I will ask about the waterfall. But our art director has the original island on the desk next to him, and he's looking at arts and trying to. And we're going to rename a lot of things the same thing. There's like Viper Pass and Skeleton Head Beach and original names. And even though the geography and the paths have changed, we're gonna try to capture that as much as possible in the.
Okay, so it's probably just some of the angles in which you were looking at some of the pictures.
Yeah, you saw it from what I call the eastern side. By the time this video goes up, it'll have a better name. The bridges are on the western side, so you couldn't see it over the hill.
Andrew Peterson asks, when will we see a playthrough video?
You will see it around the start of the Kickstarter, which is right around now. It's April 3rd is the start of the Kickstarter. We'll have our promotional video. And then we're doing a Fireball Island road trip. One of our employees, J.R. Honeycutt, is taking our prototype, and the prototypes are expensive to make. It's a 3D printed piece of plastic. It's a lot of money, so we can't just send them out to people. And instead, he is driving it around, mostly from Texas east, but like Minnesota and Texas and Pennsylvania and Toronto and Florida and a whole bunch of places. And if you go to our Kickstarter page, we're going to have a calendar and we're going to have videos, and we're going to start doing videos and playthroughs and showing people play. Many of them are game stores, like just come and play the game for a night. And the cards and some of the scoring isn't 100% locked down. We're in full development, so you get a chance to come play the game and maybe say, oh, what about this?
Question.
Is there a 7th inning stretch? I've lost
right? I know. Like,
we're in the first inning, and suddenly I was protecting the plate, and I don't know what was going on. I was at a full count.
So speaking of inside baseball here, Jimmy Hudson from Board Game Closet, he wanted to ask, can you give us any hints on any upcoming titles for Restoration Games?
No. Okay. Yeah, no. We really, we're talking one game at a time. Well, there's one game that we've announced that will be out at Gen Con. It's a very light kids game called Dinosaur Tea Party. It's a remake of a game called Who's It, which was a Parker Brothers games in the 70s. And the shortest way to say it is it's multiplayer Guess Who. The premise is you're all dinosaurs at a tea party, but you have forgotten everyone's name, and it's a little embarrassing. And so you're asking things like, oh, do you have a hat? Or did you bring your pet? I don't know why in this world you can't just see these answers, but they're dinosaurs. And then it encourages you to speak with horribly posh, fake British accents. Right. Oh, heavens, no, I don't have the face for a hat. And then you can ask, and when you've guessed 3 guest names correctly, then you win the game. And we put a recipe in for tea biscuits and tea sandwiches. This is, you play with kids, you play with non-gamers, or you play at the end of the night when you're all tired, or you play if you want to do a fake accent. It's just an adorable little game for like 6 to 8 year olds who want to pretend they're dinosaurs. And the art is, I'm kind of like a, snarky New Englander. The art is precious. It is twee and adorable and just lovely. And then we will be announcing new stuff in the summer into Gen Con, but we've been sort of all heads down, all fireballs all the time.
What inspired you to start Restoration Games?
What inspired me personally was being asked by someone else who had the idea and say, do you want to do this? So that was a big inspiration for me, was being asked to join someone else's idea. But Justin Jacobson is the president of the company. I'm the chief restoration. We sort of co-run it in a way. And he is a lawyer by trade and was looking to sort of get out of law and do something. And he's been a gamer, and I knew him. He was my lawyer. He looks at my contracts. And he said, I'm thinking of selling my law firm and starting a game company. And I said, that is an awful idea. There's a lot of game publishers. He said, wait, we will only take old games that are out of print and touch them up and put them back in print. And you used to do a lot of stuff like that at Hasbro, and I want you to be the creative guy. And I said, I changed my mind. That's a lovely idea. And it's wonderful, because I just felt like we always have this cult of the new and what's new and what's new. And it just became a chance to take something old and make it new again. And I love I made my career mostly out of looking at games that have been in print, whether it's Risk or Clue or Pandemic or something like that, and saying, wait, can we do this a little bit differently? Like, I really like starting from someplace and then saying, how about if we take it in this direction? So it was a real natural fit for me to do it. And this was about almost exactly 2 years ago that we started.
Why restore Fireball Island?
Fireball Island, you can go to our website, restorationgames.com, and sometimes, or get on our mailing list, or we send out various polls. And we just ask people, like, what games do you want to see come back? And we have a running list, just a spreadsheet, and it's sorted. And Fireball Island was the number one game by far. And we said, wow, man, if we could get that, that would be great. Now, Justin, like I said, is a lawyer by trade, and he just he's good at finding ways to make a deal, or is relentless enough to get in there and understands all of the contract negotiations. And so I wouldn't be able to sort of say, like, can we do this? And then have it show up without Justin. And oftentimes he's coming to me like, I think we can get this. I think we can get this. And so Fireball Island was just sort of a fan favorite. And we found a way, that the rights were available. And we said, let's try it. And, it was a lot of plastics, and it was a big project and had a lot of pieces. And so it was ambitious, but I was excited to do it.
What is your greatest challenge during the restoration process? You mentioned a little bit about the hype of nostalgia earlier. Is that the greatest challenge, or do you feel like there's something else in this process? Because it's a little bit different than just a game design from the ground up.
Yeah, it's well, we have all the challenges that companies do, right? Communication and talking and this and schedules and budget, but that's not exciting. When it comes to actually making a game, it's trying to find the sweet spot where you say, I know this isn't how the game played before, because I played it, but this makes me feel like I'm playing that old game, but is somehow better. And so it's a lot of, well, is this integral? Is this a good memory? Is this a bad thing? Can we change this? Like, if we're changing everything, then why are we making this game? If we're changing nothing, then it's a reprint. So it's trying to find a game that we can change just enough to make it feel like a reboot that's fresh, without it being people saying, no, that's not Fireball Island, you ruined it, or I already own this, why do I need to buy yours? And there's that space in between.
Yeah, so you're trying to be that J.J. Abrams of games at this point and trying to reboot, like, Star Trek or something. And
right. There's a lot of lens flares in Fireball Island.
There you go.
That's, as far as I know, that's all you need. No, but it is. It's like, I was a person who, despite being a professional nerd, was not like a big Star Trek person. I'm still not, like, the original series and everything. So I saw J.J. Abrams movies, and I'm like, that feels fun. That's a fresh take. Now, I know there's people who thought, no, that's not what it's supposed to be. And then, right. But for me, I think it's a great analogy, because it's like there was enough of the original that I got it, but it felt like it was a new lens put on it to make it feel a little different. New lens flare. I shouldn't use the same joke twice, but yeah, that's kind of like what we're trying to do. So people, and, I know there's some people who are like, probably still have their Fireball Island and play it, at Christmas or once a year. And they'll be like, no, this isn't it. Because they have so many memories, including very recent ones, that they might feel like we went too far. But then there's other people who haven't played it in 25 or 30 years, who don't really remember what it's supposed to be or how it played. They just have fond memories, who might play this and be like, I don't really remember how it's supposed to play, but this is fun. Mm-hmm. This seems like how it was as I was a kid. So we're trying to get the same feeling you had when you were 8 or 9. Then that's a tall order.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge for you, right? Because you're given the ability to be as creative as you need to be, but you have some parameters to work with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a pragmatic designer. I like natural boundaries, right? Where, it's not going to be a $400 game, and Fireball Island's not going to have a 64-page rule book, right? Like, there's certain things you go, not that, not that, not that, right? And even now, as looking at stretch goals and add-ons and things for the Kickstarter, like, nope, that doesn't feel right, or nope, that, like, trying to find the thing that fits within this little sandbox we created.
What do you enjoy most about the restoration process?
There's just a point where whether you're making an original game or a restoration game where it finally clicks. That's it. And it can be weeks, it can be months, it can be years, right? And it'll go a lot of dead ends and a lot of like false paths and all sorts of stuff. And then you go, whoa, it's almost like it literally clicks into place. And when you're starting with something like a restoration, it usually happens faster. So it's that nice endorphin rush of, look, we made something. Like, we all sat down and we thought really hard and we didn't give up. And here's the thing that's fun. So that's just true of game design or the creative process, I guess.
Now, you mentioned that you've been doing this for about 20 years. So you started when you were about 8, right? And between restoration games and well over, I think it's like 60 games or expansions I counted up for you that you've designed, how often are you playing for fun versus playing and playtesting for what you have to do with design work and restoration games playtesting?
Ideally, I would always carve off one day a week to just play for fun. I have had a very busy year because restoration has sort of like been a full startup, full-time job. And I'm still doing a full-time job of designing new games. So I'm working too much. So in the past 6 months, like playing games for fun, I've done 2 or 3 times. Which is bad because games are fun. That's why I got into it. And it's also bad because it's like saying I'm going to record music, but I'm not going to listen to any other music, or I'm going to be a chef, but not eat anyone else's food. Like, you play other people's stuff. You go, oh, that's a great idea, or I like this, or how do they think? And you're just building your toolbox of things that inspire you. So it's not fun because games are fun, and it's not a good idea. But with Fireball Island, kind of wrapping up a lot of my portion of it, and then a big original game that I just finished up or in the process of finishing up, I can see a lot of free time, and there's a lot of games back here that have been there way too long and need to come out and be played with. This place where I think, I got a couple hours, I should play a game, and I go, well, my prototype needs some more work. And it's just hard to say, like, I've got people who will play games, and so you have to kind of put yourself on a diet of like, nope, just have fun, just relax and enjoy. And I get together about once a week with people in town, and we play test stuff, and sometimes we'll be like, let's play test and then play a regular game and things like that. But they had a baby, so they're usually good for 1 game, not 2, right, before they go to bed. So with the playing for fun part has kind of dropped off a little bit.
Yeah, that whole life getting in the way thing sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, my kids are big because I had them, again, at 8, like you said. So, yeah. It was
some people are child prodigies.
Yeah, just advanced.
What was that red pill moment, if you will, to use a Matrix reference, that opened up your eyes to the hobby?
Well, there wasn't as much of a hobby in 1998 when I started. I mean, there were Settlers and a couple other things, but you kind of had to have a guide, and luckily I did. There's a guy named Mike Ray who hired me, and he's sort of a gaming legend, generation ahead of me. He's retired now. And then every day at lunch at Hasbro during these late 90s, he would just bring out a different game and teach it. And we might play it once, we might play it for a week, and then he'd take it away and bring us out another one. And he taught even some stuff that, right, like I had played Magic the Gathering, but like he got really extensively into deck building, and then he took out Go. And I'm like, I had never played Go, and he taught Go. So there was like this gaming workshop for 18 months that enabled me, when a game landed on my desk soon thereafter about this haunted house game that had 50 different haunts in it, and it was an inventor's idea, and what could I do with it, that's when I fell in love with my job, because I'm like, well, this isn't Trivial Pursuit. This can, and like that idea of doing something kind of crazy and over the top, which became Betrayal at House on the Hill, obviously. It was just this, I spent about 18 months doing design and development on that game from the original concept, and it really made me fall in love with making games. And I fell in love with meaty games and story games and games that did ridiculous impossibly complicated interactions.
Who do you know in the industry that you think others should know?
I am going to take that question and I'm going to give it a little tweak, because there's a lot of people that I could recommend that you may or may not know, but they're podcasters or they're developers, and you might be like, oh, I kind of know that person. So I said, who's someone in the game industry that you should know, but probably have no idea who this person is? There is a person named Jean-François Gagné, and he worked for Z-Man Games until last year, and he is the very secret ingredient in Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and Season 2, because he was the in-house editor and translator and sort of editorial person. When Matt and I would finish the game, we would give it to him. He would spend months poring through it, looking for inconsistencies, loopholes, writing the briefs for the other languages, translating it in the rules into French himself, and in the process finding more loopholes because he had to actually write things. We're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Coming back, asking lots of questions, and we would get onto phone calls, and there was always this tuning and polish that happened when he got involved that I just think was magical and very, very unsung. When you get a game and the designer's name's on the box, and often now the artist's name's on the box and the publisher's there, and you can look through the rule book, there's just so many people in that rule book who did something really, really important, and it's just so easy to not know, right? It's like when all these credits go by in a movie, and you're like, what did these people do? Because you know someone did something brilliant that made that movie, but they just get lost in the sea of stuff. So this isn't to take anything away from everyone else. I just wanted to tell. He goes by Jeff, JF, Jean-François, Jeff Story, given the opportunity.
So what advice would you have for someone who is a budding game designer or publisher? I'll let you choose which one you want to tackle.
I will pick game designer for now, because I've been doing that for much longer and have a better sense of it. I think the question that I ask game designers right now is, what does it mean to you to be a game designer? And by that I mean, I'm one of the few people who can make a living at it. And that's like one end of the spectrum. And at the other end of the spectrum is, I don't know, I sometimes make up my own cards for a game that I like, or I kind of homebrew, like Fireball Island. We made up some option rules that I just play with my kids. We're both game designers. And I just like to tell people, like, most people are in the middle, and a lot of people, like, get one game published every other year. It makes enough money for them to take a nice vacation or to put a little money aside for a kid's college fund, and they still have a full-time job. That is being a game designer. And it's actually being a successful game designer. And I just want to make sure I like to give this answer because it's different from, it's not about the design process. It's about making sure that you know what kind of game designer you want. I think there's always a sense of more and bigger, and I wish I could do this full time. And I like to tell people, like, I spend about half my week running a business and half my time game designing. So when you take on game design as a job, all those things that go with a job come with you. Like payroll and banks and contracts and lawyers and travel plans and scheduling and meetings and emails and, back and forth. Like, that all just moves to your new job, which happens to be game design. And so at the end of the day, you may not be doing much more game design than you were doing when you had a full-time job and design games in the evening. You'll just statistically make less money than before. So my advice for game designers is like, oh, I just like making games, and I just like making games, and my friends play them, and we have a good time, and I don't know if I'll ever get published. And it's like, if you like doing that, just do that. Like, that's a wonderful thing to do. Have your audience of 4 that's your game design group, and they love your games, and you like doing it, and it gives you this as a hobby that gives you joy. Like, you are a game designer. You did everything that a game designer does, and it gives you happiness. If you do more, honestly ask yourself if that made you happier or not, right? Because then you give it to strangers, and they're like, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't get that rule. Does this thing even play tested? And you're like, well, this isn't fun. And it's like, okay, then just, find what you want to get out of it and then go to do that.
Okay, we've done the windup, we've done the pitch, we've even done the swing, and now we're going to go into the catch. This is where I'm going to pepper you with some questions that are just going to be quick. And so this is the opportunity at this late hour to get you on your lightning reflexes. Okay, so or tigery, tigery, right? Tigery reflexes.
Tigery, yeah,
Tigery.
yeah.
Okay,
that's a callback.
Yeah, that's a callback. I like that. All right, so here we go. What is your meeple color of choice?
Green.
If someone asked your friends who your favorite board game designer is, what would they say?
They'd say, no, he never answers questions about favorites.
What board game universe would you want to live in?
I don't know. That's Candyland, but not with the diabetes.
Okay. What TV channel doesn't exist but really should?
Just the British baking show, 24/7.
Okay. What makes you laugh every time?
Farts.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wish I was really trying to think of something that wasn't that answer, but that's the answer.
Okay. What game?
See, I'm smiling right now. I'm just.
What game do you wish you could erase from your memory so you could experience it again for the first time?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. Lightning round. First edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons as a kid.
Okay.
Not because it's a great game, but it gave me great memories.
Some people would say that there are two types of gamers in the world. What are the two types?
The Fast and the Furious.
Okay. What is your Grail game?
A game that lets you build a world with a really rich history.
Okay. Among your friends, what are you famous for?
This job, maybe.
Okay.
But, yeah, they give me a lot of crap for it. But cooking, being the best cook.
Being the best cook. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Amongst my peer groups, not in the world, not by a long.
Okay. What three things would you want to have on Fireball Island?
The helicopter coming back.
Okay.
A good pair of sneakers, and a map of the caves.
Okay. All right. Final question. This one's worth 2,000 points, so hopefully you'll get this one right.
Good. That's very important, I think.
If you had favorite games on the island, Fireball Island, when Val Kilmer starts hurling fireballs your way, what's that one game you're grabbing on the way off the island?
I see. It always comes back to my D&D books. Right. That's what got me in this. I'm touching them right now. Right. They are 40 years old almost, and I fell in love with imagination, adventure, games, social aspects, storytelling, just everything from those books. And the ages of 11 to 14 where I devoured them, and then I got a little too cool for a while, but they never went away. And nothing can ever replace them in terms of like nostalgia. And then like I even have an original D&D module from when I was a kid that ended up getting signed by the designer because he was a fan of Risk Legacy.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that was the circuit getting complete. That still kind of blows my mind.
I guess I'll give 2,500 points for that answer then.
Yes!
Yes!
Yes! Oh, that's like 500 more points than I was promised.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
what are the points for?
It's kind of like the internet. It's where you have your opinion, but your points don't really matter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's less exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is.
That's
so.
Yeah, I'm okay though.
I don't even have a T-shirt to give you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's yeah.
I should work on that. So I'll have my people. I don't have any people. Okay, never mind. And now we're going to get into the call. So this is a call to action. Where can people find you in Restoration Games? Where can people find out more about Fireball Island? And more importantly, what do you want on your tombstone?
You can find Restoration Games at restorationgames.com. If you're on Twitter, you go to at Restoration Game. No S, because Twitter handles can't be that long. You can find me at Rob Daviau, ROBDAVIAU. What I'd really like you to do is kind of wander on over to the Fireball Island Kickstarter and at least give it a look. If what I was saying earlier sounded interesting to you, just take a couple minutes now and take a look at what we have up there and see it in action. And I think on my tombstone, I don't know, what should it say? Like, oh, sorry, is it my turn?
Those of you that are following at home, if you had your favorite games on Fireball Island when Vicky Vale started hurling fireballs your way, what is that one game that you would grab on your way off the island? Let us know in the comments below. Also, I'm going to have all of those connections, those websites and Twitter handles, and even a link to the Kickstarter in the description below. So go check all that out and see what Fireball Island can do for you. And my apologies to Christian from Take Your Chips. As we ran out of time, we'll have to reschedule him later. I just want to say a big thank you to Rob for Restoration Games for joining me on Stop, Collaborate, and Listen.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me talk about Fireball Island, the Curse of Volcar. Curse of Volcar.
Okay, there we go. All right, we're back.
All right, we're back. Okay. And that's a wrap, people. Hope you liked it.
Yeah.